Welcome. We want to challenge maybe a common assumption you might hold about leadership today.
hmm
When we think about finding the next great leader, the next CEO or team lead, most people instinctively look for the title.
Right? Or the loudest voice.
Exactly, the most impressive resume, the person who kind of dominates the room. But what if it's exactly the wrong way to look?
Our sources today, they really push back hard against that outward focus.
Mm-hmm.
They argue that the greatest leaders of tomorrow, they're probably already in your organization,
Okay.
likely serving quietly, maybe completely unnoticed by the formal structure.
Mm.
The real crisis, they suggest, isn't really a shortage of talent. It's more a shortage of foresight, of seeing things early enough.
So if you wait until there's a big vacancy to start looking,
You've already missed the boat. The crucial formation period, it's gone.
that really changes the mission then. We're not looking for someone who is a leader already formed. We're looking for someone who's becoming one. Our sources don't see leadership as like a badge you get at an appointment. It's more like a seed.
A seed sown in hidden soil. That's a great way to put it.
So our goal in this deep dive is to pull out some structured, really practical insights on how to move that discernment process away from just fuzzy intuition.
Yeah, that I just have a good feeling about them thing.
Right, towards something more intentional, systematic even.
Exactly. We're focusing on metrics that often sit outside the usual performance review. Things like sustained faithfulness, foundational character. How do you spot that? How do you nurture it?
And the idea is that organizations that actually master this skill spotting and investing in potential really early, maybe years early, they gain this huge advantage.
An irreplaceable, deeply rooted pipeline of capacity.
Yeah.
That's the core idea.
Okay, let's dig into that core shift first. This idea that leadership is cultivated long before any title comes along.
Mm-hmm.
It implies potential shows itself not in the big speeches, but in the ordinary stuff, the routine moments.
Like the team member who just consistently shows up prepared.
Yeah.
Every time.
Or the volunteer whose quiet influence kind of sets the whole tone for the group, positive, dedicated.
And what's really fascinating is why those ordinary, low-stakes moments are so diagnostic, why they tell us so much.
Okay.
The sources anchor this in a pretty explicit principle when you see across a lot of ancient wisdom texts. Whoever is faithful in a very little is faithful also in much.
That feels incredibly countercultural today, doesn't it? Everything's so fast-paced. We tend to reward the splashy achievements.
Absolutely.
If someone's brilliant, but, flaky or inconsistent, most systems reward the brilliance and just try to manage the inconsistency.
Right, put guardrails around them.
But you're saying the consistency in the little things, that's the real predictor, especially when the stakes get high.
Precisely. It reframes leadership. It's primarily about stewardship, about the careful handling of responsibility.
Stewardship.
And faithfulness is the critical test for that. It's like the testing acid. If someone treats a low-risk, low-reward task with seriousness, with diligence.
They show the internal discipline needed for bigger things.
Exactly. The character required for weighty public responsibilities, the principle holds.
Yeah.
If they're sloppy with $5, they'll probably be careless with $5 million. It's about the underlying approach.
We see that pattern in, some foundational stories in the source material, don't we? David comes to mind.
Yeah, David's a prime example. Identified early for leadership potential, sure.
But
But then forged for years out in the margins, shepherding, fighting off lions and bears, hidden dangers, surviving years of unjust exile.
Right, none of that was on a public stage initially.
And the selection criteria, it's explicitly noted, wasn't his height or his battle record at first. It was about his heart, his inner character, what God saw. And you see a similar arc with Joseph, the dreamer. His character was shaped, tested, really pruned in hidden places.
Servitude.
Right, before he ever stepped into public office as prime minister. In these models, it's the early behaviors, integrity, faith under pressure, diligence, even in despised roles. Those are the indicators, the signs of future capacity.
Okay, so we see the pattern, but it feels like there's another crucial piece here. It's not just about passive observation, waiting for these people to emerge fully formed.
No, definitely not.
Someone has to see that potential, right, and then actively take a risk on them.
Yes.
I find the example of Barnabas and Saul, who became Paul, really compelling here.
Oh, absolutely, the Barnabas model.
Saul was the enemy, the chief persecutor of the early church. Barnabas had to put his own reputation, his own standing on the line.
Huge risk.
To vouch for him, to bring him into the community when everyone else was terrified. That seems to highlight this essential role of sponsorship. of taking a calculated risk.
Yes, identifying capacity where others just see a threat or a liability, or maybe just someone's past mistakes.
That Barnabas model feels critical then, because you're right, traditional talent pipelines are often pretty risk-averse.
Very much so. They rely heavily on existing positions, internal validation, the known quantities.
So we need to move beyond just trusting our gut. We need specific, observable traits that organizations can actually track systematically.
That's the transition from intuition to intentional observation.
Okay, I agree. Intuition is easy, but documentation, that's where the value is. So what are those specific traits? How do we make this practical for someone listening right now, trying to spot that hidden potential on their team?
Well, we've distilled what the sources suggest into, let's call it a 6 C's framework.
6 C's, okay.
And these attributes, they're not primarily about outward charisma or hitting quarterly targets. They're about character,
Yeah.
underlying habits, the foundational stuff.
All right, lay them out for us. Let's dig into the nuance of spotting each one.
Okay, first, and this is the absolute non-negotiable foundation, faithfulness, consistency,
Right.
reliability in the routine, the mundane tasks, punctuality, accuracy, following through even when no one's watching. You cultivate this by giving low-risk responsibilities, and you watch over time. It takes time.
Okay, but how is that really different from just being, a good, reliable employee? Lots of people are reliable.
It's about the why behind it. A truly consistent person does the right thing because of internal character, internal motivation. An unreliable person might do it when it's convenient or when there's external pressure. It's the internal compass.
Got it. Okay, what's number 2?
Second C, coachability. This is huge. Do they actively seek feedback? Do they ask insightful questions that show they're really thinking? And crucially, do they implement the suggestions?
Ah, the implementation part is key.
It is. The wisdom tradition is full of this. A wise person loves instruction. A lack of coachability. That's often a terminal issue for a developing leader. If they can't learn and adapt, they plateau.
That makes total sense. If they can't take direction in a small role, how will they handle accountability in a big one? Okay, what's the third C? This one feels like it might get overlooked sometimes.
I think it does. It's character moral stability. This is about demonstrable integrity. How do they handle money? How are their relationships? What's their speech like? Are they honest? Do they keep their word?
The fundamentals.
Yes. And our sources link this directly to sustained private practices, the things they do when no one is looking. That inner life determines their public stability under pressure.
Okay, which leads nicely into the fourth C.
Right. Capacity under pressure, resilience. How do they handle failure? Setbacks? Stress? Do they keep their character intact or do they lash out? Deflect blame? Shut down?
So you need to see them tested.
You do. Testing produces perseverance or it reveals the cracks. You need assignments where failure is a real possibility just to observe that character response. It's diagnostic.
Okay, that makes sense. You have to create those testing grounds. What about the last 2 C's?
These often reveal the hidden intent, the heart posture. Fifth is humility and servant posture. Do they volunteer for the unattractive jobs, the ones no one else wants? Do they willingly give credit away to others? Do they serve without needing the spotlight or applause?
That servant leadership idea.
Exactly. The source material often presents this radical idea. The greatest leader is the servant of all.
Okay, but let me push back a little here. In a really competitive corporate world, isn't there a risk that the truly humble person just gets overlooked or even taken advantage of? Doesn't the system often reward the self-promoter?
That's what we call the quiet leader risk. And you're right, it's a real tension. The answer isn't for the humble person to change, it's for the system to change. We have to build systems that actively look for and reward that servant posture.
Interesting. So the system needs adjustment.
Which leads directly to the 6th C, informal influence community endorsement.
Ah, okay. Explain that.
This is about their local credibility, the trust they've earned without a formal title. Are they the person others naturally seek out for advice, for counsel? Maybe even for comfort after a team conflict.
The person people gravitate towards.
Precisely. They don't have the official authority, but they shape the mood. They guide the group's direction informally. If the people they live and work alongside already trust them, that grassroots credibility, it's often far more valuable than a fancy title bestowed from above.
Finding that person, that informal influencer, feels really key then. You need to watch for the person who influences a meeting just by listening well, or the one the team looks to when things get uncertain, even if they aren't the designated lead. If you miss that signal, you might end up promoting someone with flair, but no real followership.
And connecting this back to the bigger picture, true discernment needs more than just knowing these 6 C's. It demands intentional systems, structures. We have to move beyond guesswork and our own biases.
A long-term view.
Exactly. The sources emphasize a long horizon approach. This isn't about filling a role next quarter. It's about deep, sustained formation, sometimes over years.
So what does that structured development actually look like? How do you build a system that values depth over speed? A system that doesn't just hope a Barnabas shows up?
Well, the sources suggest a pretty clear phased approach, almost like a pipeline, but focused on depth. Think 3 seasons of development.
Yep.
It mirrors apprenticeship models like you see described between Paul and Timothy in some texts.
Right. Learning by doing alongside a mentor.
Precisely. So phase 1, presence and prayer. This might be the first, say, 0 to 3 months.
Okay. What happens here?
Pure observation, really. Prayerful consideration, if that fits your context. And maybe inviting the person into very low-stakes tasks. Simple administrative things, service opportunities. The goal is just to see their baseline character. Watch for that consistency we talked about.
So you're creating chances to observe, but without the pressure of a formal leadership track that might make them act differently.
Exactly. Keep it low-key. Then, if they show promise, you move into phase 2, apprenticeship. This is longer, maybe 3 to 12 months.
More involved now.
Much more. Active shadowing, co-leading real tasks, but under close supervision, and regular, probably weekly mentorship conversations. Really digging in. And crucially, this is where you introduce stretch tasks. Developmental assignments designed to push them a bit, make them apply their skills under a little pressure, maybe working across different teams. This is the crucible. It tests character under minor strain.
That 3 to 12-month window feels vital. It's long enough, I imagine, for the initial best behavior to wear off.
It's the great filter. You see the real person, their motivations, how they handle sustained responsibility.
And only after that.
Only after those 2 seasons do you even consider phase 3. Commissioning, and this could be 12 months, even up to 36 months into the whole process.
Wow, up to 3 years.
Yes. Sources are really clear. You only commission publicly, give the formal title or role once character, competence, and calling are confirmed. And ideally, confirmed by multiple voices, not just one person's opinion. This whole process pushes back hard against that urge to rush.
Okay, but to make that pipeline actually work, you need a structured way to capture the observations, right? It can't just be the mentor's gut feeling after 12 months. How do you document something as elusive as character?
That's the linchpin, the practical tool, the observation grid.
Observation grid. Tell me more.
This is what moves discernment past subjective impressions and bias. You cannot just log things like, seems like a good leader, or has potential. That's useless.
So what do you log?
Concrete, factual, repeatable evidence. Behavior.
Give me an example.
Okay, instead of logging good communication skills, you log the specific behavior. Candidate drafted comprehensive summary notes after the project meeting and distributed them to the team within 1 hour without being asked.
Specific, actionable.
Exactly. Or instead of just saying someone is humble, you log. Candidate volunteered to clean up the event space after everyone else left, even though they'd given the main presentation earlier. You log what was actually said or done.
And you track this over time.
Yes. You track the behavioral evidence of consistency, coachability, humility, etc. over that entire apprenticeship phase. And you use that objective documentation, the grid, to guide the gradual increase of trust and responsibility.
This sounds incredibly thorough. Wise, even. But I'm thinking about organizational reality. A crisis hits. The board wants a quick hire. People have their favorites, maybe people who are just like them. How do you keep this patient, long horizon process from getting completely derailed by short-term pressures?
Yeah, that's the challenge. The sources point to 3 main pitfalls here. The first is exactly what you said, rushing. Promoting someone because of a crisis or short-term need, skipping those vital formation steps.
It leads to mistakes.
Almost always. The second pitfall is bias, favoritism, confirmation bias. Often results in promoting mini-me's people who look, think, and act just like the current leadership.
Which stifles diversity, innovation.
Completely. And the third pitfall, we touched on it earlier, promoting based on superficials.
Right.
Or that charisma. Promoting the flair, the great presentation, the public persona, without verifying the private fidelity, the underlying character. Charisma might fill a room initially, but it's character that sustains the mission long term.
Okay, so rushing, bias, charisma. Those are the dangers. If the observation grid gives us the data, what are the systemic safeguards? How do we minimize the damage from those pitfalls?
The essential safeguard is distributed authority.
Yeah,
Don't let it be one person's call.
makes sense.
Use multi-person review teams. Maybe call them character-focused review panels. Involve people from different departments, different levels. Get diverse perspectives. This dilutes individual bias significantly.
And what do those teams rely on?
They rely on transparent, behavior-based criteria. They rely on the documented evidence from that observation grid, from peer feedback collected systematically. Not on one person's gut feeling or subjective impression. You trust the process, the documented evidence, not just the star power or the loudest advocate.
Okay, so if we pull all these threads together, what's the ultimate takeaway for someone listening, for their organization?
I think it's this. Identifying and nurturing that leadership seed isn't just talent management. It's an act of long-term stewardship. It takes patience. It takes humility from current leaders, and it absolutely requires intentional system design.
Right.
The organization's capacity, its potential for impact, it just multiplies exponentially when it learns to consistently look past the obvious, the resume, the title, the public praise, and focuses instead on that humble, consistent faithfulness shown in small, often unglamorous ways.
So the bottom line really is organizations that master this skill, moving from fuzzy intuition to intentional, systematic cultivation of character and faithfulness, they gain a decisive edge. They unlock real, sustainable growth.
That's it.
The choice you face, listening right now, is whether you want to keep reactively filling roles as they open up.
Or proactively expand your organization's impact by investing in faithful discipline formation starting today.
Which leaves us with maybe one final provocative thought. Look around you. In your team, your community, your network, who, right now, might already be showing those quiet, consistent signals of tomorrow's leader. The real question is, are you prepared to see them? And maybe more importantly, are you prepared to risk your own time, your reputation perhaps, to sponsor them, to invest in them before someone else does, or worse, before it's simply too late?